Hi students, myself Satish Kumar Kodidala, Assistant Professor, School of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Ignian's Foundation for Science, Technology and Research, Guntur. In this video, I would like to discuss about limit tests. Limit tests are used for testing the purity of the substances. Particularly, these limit tests are useful for checking whether there any inorganic substances are present beyond the limit which are mentioned in the pharmacopoeias. I will give some general example which are similar to this type of limit test. For example, while conducting the examinations for the students. So based upon that exams, we are going to test the quality of the student. That means we are going to test the knowledge of the student regarding a particular subject. If the student having the sufficient knowledge in that particular subject, he can pass in that subject examination. So that means, so we'll fix some limit pass mark to check the knowledge of student in that particular subject. Those students which are getting the pass marks, they can consider as the students which are having the sufficient knowledge in that particular subject. So in the same way, the compounds are the substances which are free from impurities, so that can pass the limit test. Understood? So that means here also pharmacopoeias will prescribe the limits for different inorganic impurities. According to that limits, we can consider the substance which are free from the impurities or not. In this example, I compare that purity with the knowledge of the student. If the student is having a prescribed knowledge, so they can pass the examination. In the same way, substances which are having the prescribed purity, then they can pass the limit test. I hope you understood this example in case of limit test. After completion of watching this video, students should know the methods to determine the impurities in drugs and pharmaceuticals, and they can understand the principles, procedures and observations of the limit test for different type of impurities like chlorides, sulfates, etc. The contents of this sequence of these videos will include the introduction to the test for purity and limit test, procedure, principle and observations involved in the limit test for chlorides, sulfate, iron, arsenic, lead, heavy metals, and we can also discuss the modified limit test for chlorides and sulfates. So let us see one by one. Coming to the introduction, the test for purity includes some of the tests which are used to determine the impurities in the substances, and they can use it to fix the limits of tolerance for undesirable impurities according to the pharmacopoeias. As we know that the pharmaceutical substances are not completely free from the undesirable or toxic impurities, the objective of these tests are included to provide the reasonable purity of the substances to ensuring the safety. If the impurity which is present in the official substance is often small, then the respective visible reaction which takes place by the such impurity is also small. While designing the individual test, one should remember it is important avoiding of errors which are obtained from the different operators. Some of the tests which are used to ascertain the purity of the substance as follows. Clarity of the solution. In this test, we can check the clarity of the solution by placing against the black background and white background. So in case of clear solutions, we can check the clarity against the black background, and in case of color solutions, we can check the clarity of that particular solutions against the white background. So in case of test for color of the solution, we can check is there any change in the color of a particular solution. That means some of the substances have a characteristic color, and we can check whether the characteristic color is changed during the preparation or storage. And test for acidity and alkalinity. So this acidity and alkalinity can be checked by using the litmus papers, pH litmus paper, that means blue litmus paper and red litmus paper. In case of loss of ignition, some of the substances are subjected for burning or ignition, and then after we will check how much amount of loss by this. Then after we calculate the loss on drying. So after drying of a particular substance, we can determine the loss on drying. and moisture content. So in case of moisture content, we'll use the different types of techniques to measure the moisture. Techniques used in case of moisture content are nothing but infrared moisture chamber or RM titration. In case of limit test for some of the inorganic substances like chloride, sulfate, iron, arsenic, lead, etc., we'll use the comparison technique. So in that comparison, we can compare the opalescence, cloudiness or turbidity of a test compound with that of the opalescence, cloudiness or turbidity with that of the standard substance, with that of the known standard substance. And coming to the limit test, the definition of the limit tests are nothing but these are the tests. Limit tests are quantitative or semi-quantitative tests designed to identify and control small quantities of impurities which are likely to be present in the substances. Quantitative means measurable, or semi-quantitative means it has some limit for a particular type of impurity, and thereby we can identify or control that impurities in a particular substance. And these limit tests are generally carried out to determine the inorganic impurities which are present in the compound. The general principle which are involved in the limit test is nothing but comparison of opalescence, turbidity or color which is produced by the test sample with that of the fixed amount of the standards. So here we can see the test solution and standard solution. We can compare the opalescence, turbidity or color which is produced by the test sample with that of the opalescence, turbidity or color produced by the known amount of standard. Coming to the importance of limit tests, these limit tests are used to find out the harmful impurities in substances. They are used to check whether the impurities are within the specified pharmacopoeia limits or not. And also they are used to find out the avoidable and unavoidable impurities which are present in the substance. The success of limit test is accomplished by the number of factors. So here 3 factors which can required to consider while performing the limit test. First one is the specificity of the test, second one is the sensitivity, third one is the control of personal errors or bias. So in case of specificity of the test, for avoiding a particular impurity or for identification of the particular impurity, we'll use a selective reaction or specific reaction are used to identify a particular inorganic impurity. So that means we'll use a selective type of method to identify a particular impurity. But highly specific tests are not always be best. A less specific test, so that means the reaction or the type of test which can able to react with the number of impurities which are present in the substance is required, and it is advantageous in nature. I will give some example. In case of heavy metals, limit test for heavy metals, generally the specific test or reaction which is used as the limit test for heavy metals in case of alum can able to identify the lead as impurity. But in case of alum, along with the lead, it is also consisting of sulfides which are obtained from the thioacetamide as impurities. So in this case, we can design a specific limit test or reaction that can able to react with the lead as well as the sulfide. So that type of tests are beneficial or advantageous in case of controlling the impurities which are present in the alum. There should be a particular degree of sensitivity is required for limit test according to the monographs specified in the pharmacopoeias. The sensitivity of these tests are depend upon the number of variable factors which are involved or the factors which can affect the precipitation of insoluble substance from solution. So like concentration of the solute and concentration of the precipitating reagent, duration of the reaction, reaction temperature, nature and concentration of other substances which are present in the solution. So these are the some factors which can affect the sensitivity of a particular limit test or reaction which are used for testing the limit of particular inorganic substance as impurity in compounds. Third one is a control of personal errors. Definitely we should exclude the personal errors in any type of test for purity or qualitative or quantitative test. So that means we should avoid all possible sources of ambiguity in description of the test. That means we should exclude the ambiguity regarding the precipitate formation. The control of personal errors can be achieved or accomplished by three ways. One is a test in which there is no visible reaction. Second one is by using the comparison methods. Third one is quantitative determinations. In case of test in which there is no visible reaction, a definite statement is incorporated in wording of test which states that there shall be no color, opalescence or precipitate, whichever is appropriate to particular test. That means the test result should be in no color, no opalescence, no precipitate. That means the test is conducted for a substance for its purity, and that test includes reaction with a particular reagent. And if the substance consisting of any impurity, and that can able to produce the either color, opalescence or precipitate with that of reagent. And if it doesn't consisting of any impurity, and that it cannot produce any color, opalescence or precipitate. In this case, if the impurity is present in the substance, then it produces the color, and that indicates the substance doesn't pass the test. And if the substance doesn't have any impurity, then it doesn't show any color, opalescence or precipitate during that test or reaction. That indicates the substance will pass the test. So this type of tests are required to remove the personal bias. Example for this type of tests are nothing but test for barium and calcium in dilute hypophosphorus acid according to the British Pharmacopoeia. So in this test, addition of dilute sulfuric acid and precise controlled condition shall produce no turbidity or no precipitate. That indicates there is no barium and calcium in the dilute hypophosphorus acid. If there is any turbidity or precipitate is present, that indicates there is a barium and calcium is present as the impurity in dilute hypophosphorus acid. The time factor will influence the sensitivity of the test. The time limit for this test is 1 hour. And if you not maintain the exact time for about 1 hour, the sensitivity of the test will vary. In case of comparison methods, these comparison methods requires a standard containing definite amount of impurity, and the same test procedure is conducted for the both the standard, which is containing a definite impurity, and the sample which is going to be tested. And at last we'll compare the test solution with that of the standard. We can determine whether the test substance is qualified or not. Generally, these comparison methods are applied for official test for chloride, sulfate, iron, heavy metals. And third one is a quantitative determinations, and these quantitative determinations are applied in special circumstances like where the limit is not readily suspectable to simple or more direct chemical determinations. So that means in some of the situations where we cannot readily suspectable if the substance is containing any impurities or not, so in that case we will conduct the quantitative determinations. The test comes under the quantitative determinations are as follows: limit test for insoluble matters, limits for insoluble matters, limits for soluble matters, limits for moisture, volatile matter and residual solvents, limits of non-volatile matters, limits of residue on ignition, loss on ignition, ash values, precipitation methods. So we know that, so what type of tests are used in test for purity. Comparison tests are used for limit test for some inorganic substances which are present as impurities. So let us discuss some of the limit tests for different inorganic impurities. So first one is limit test for chlorides. The principle involved in the limit test for chlorides is nothing but the test opalescence obtained by the reaction of chloride impurities with silver nitrate is compared with the standard opalescence obtained by the reaction of known quantity of the chloride with same silver nitrate. So when you see in the basic reaction here, the chlorides which are present as the impurity in a particular substance is reacted with the silver nitrate in presence of dilute nitric acid. So they can able to form the silver chloride as precipitate, and this nitric acid is useful to insoluble the silver chloride precipitate in the solution. And the operators required for this limit test for chlorides are Nessler cylinder. Nessler cylinder. Nessler cylinder is nothing but a glass cylinder which are having a particular dimensions, and it is marked at 50 ml and 100 ml. Other operators required are glass rod, stand, etc. The chemicals required for this limit test for chlorides are nothing but 10% nitric acid, that is a dilute nitric acid, 5% silver nitrate, and sodium chloride. And coming to the procedure, we have to carry out the test procedure for test sample and standard sample simultaneously. For that reason, we'll use the two Nessler cylinders. One is used for the test sample and another one is used for the standard solution. So here consider this one as the test Nessler cylinder and this one is the standard Nessler cylinder. First we will add the test sample is added to the test Nessler cylinder and the standard solution is added to the standard Nessler cylinder. So that means in case of test Nessler cylinder, we will add 15 ml of sample which is prepared according to the specifications mentioned in the pharmacopoeia, and to the standard Nessler cylinder we will add totally about 15 ml of sodium chloride solution which is having the 5 ppm concentration. In the second step we will add 1 ml of nitric acid to the both test and standard Nessler cylinders. Then after we will make up the volume of these two Nessler cylinders up to 50 ml with distilled water. In the final step we will add 1 ml of 5% silver nitrate solution to the both Nessler cylinders. Then after keep the both Nessler cylinders aside for about 5 minutes. After that we will observe the opalescence or turbidity which is produced in the both test tubes. If the opalescence or turbidity which is produced in the test solution is greater than the standard solution, then the limit test for chloride is failed. If the opalescence or turbidity of this sample solution is less than this standard solution, then the sample is passed for limit test for chlorides. So this is the observation and inference regarding the limit test for chlorides. I am repeating the observation and inference once again. If the opalescence or turbidity produced in sample solution is greater than the opalescence or turbidity produced in standard solution, then the sample is not passed the limit test for chlorides. Or if the opalescence or turbidity produced in the sample solution is less than the opalescence or turbidity produced in standard solution, then the sample passed the limit test for chlorides. And next one is a limit test for sulfate. The principle involved in the limit test for sulfate is nothing but the test opalescence obtained by the reaction of sulfate impurities with barium chloride is compared with the standard opalescence obtained by the reaction of known quantity of sulfate with barium chloride. That means this test including the reaction between the sulfate. The operators required for this limit test for sulfate is nothing but Nessler cylinder, glass rod and stand. Chemicals required are 5 molar acetic acid, ethanolic sulfate solution, barium chloride. The reaction involved in the limit test for sulfate is the reaction between the sulfate and barium chloride in presence of dilute acetic acid. So when the sulfate as the impurity is reacted with the barium chloride in presence of acetic acid, then it forms the barium sulfate. So the sulfate, when it reacts with the barium chloride in presence of acetic acid, it forms the barium sulfate as precipitate. Barium sulfate as the precipitate. The sulfate, when it is reacted with the barium chloride in presence of dilute acetic acid, then it forms the barium sulfate as precipitate. And the addition of this dilute acetic acid is useful to insolubilize the barium sulfate in the solution, thereby it produces the opalescence or turbidity. And coming to the test procedure, as same as that of the limit test for chlorides, here also we'll use the two Nessler cylinders for conducting the test procedure. So in one Nessler cylinder we'll conduct the procedure for test sample, and the second Nessler cylinder will conduct the procedure for standard solution. In the first step, we'll add 1 ml of 25% weight by volume solution of barium chloride, ethanolic sulfate standard solution, that is about 10 ppm, to the Nessler cylinder. So that means in both the Nessler cylinders, we'll add 1 ml of 25% weight by volume solution of barium chloride and 1.5 ml of ethanolic sulfate standard solution, which is about 10 ppm. That means a test Nessler cylinder and standard Nessler cylinder. For these two cylinders, we'll add the 1 ml of 25% weight by volume solution of barium chloride and 1.5 ml of ethanolic sulfate standard solution containing 10 ppm concentration. And second step, to the test Nessler cylinder, we'll add 15 ml of test solution prepared as directed in the monograph or solution of the specified quantity of the substance under examination. And in case of standard Nessler cylinder, we will add 15 ml of ethanolic sulfate standard solution, so that is about 10 ppm. After this step, mix the contents of both the Nessler cylinders. In the third step, we will add 0.15 ml of 5 molar acetic acid to the both Nessler cylinders. Then after, allow these two Nessler cylinder to stand for about 5 minutes, and after that we'll observe the opalescence or turbidity in both test and standard Nessler cylinder. And coming to the observation, if the turbidity produced in the test solution is lesser than the standard solution, then the inference is nothing but the given substance is passing the limit test for sulfate as per Indian Pharmacopoeia when compared to the standard substance. The turbidity produced in the test solution is more than the standard solution, then the inference is the given substance fails the limit test for sulfate as per Indian Pharmacopoeia when compared to the standard substance. So this is about the principle and procedures involved in the test for sulfates. So up to now in this video we discussed about the introduction regarding the test for purity, limit test, general principle involved in the limit test, importance of limit test, factors affecting the limit test, and finally we discussed about the principle, procedure and observations involved in the limit test for chlorides and limit test for sulfates. In next video we will discuss about the limit test for iron, arsenic, lead, etc. Thank you.